I mean, it wasn't like I wanted to inspire anybody. It was just, I had to get out of the games, man. My brothers were getting me beat up. So I became an inspiration unknowingly, but it's dope to reinsert that to people. To when people get to know me and they hear that interview and they go, "Yo, I've seen this interview that you did, man. It's really dope hearing your story." And so it's like reinserting the inspiration process for when people read the interview, they can get re-inspired, like I did for people, and then other people did for me. So it's kind of like that legacy.
Salute to the subscribers, those that live beyond the Cypher. I'm your host, Illskillz. Welcome to Beyond the Cypher with Illskillz. If you're new to the channel, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. They cost you nothing. Today in the studio we have, for episode 10, perfect 10, coming through, West Coast hero, Erik Thoreau. What up, sir? How you doing now?
Well,
No doubt, no doubt. So, the way I always started, and I don't even know why I say it anymore, I should just do it. I always start just where the person's history start. So my first question is always, how did you get into the break-in culture?
It's very interesting. The way I got into it was we've seen a lot of vandalism, graffiti and stuff growing up, and that was kind of like my teenage introduction to hip hop. And then we were just tagging up walls and just being kids and stuff. And then my friend said, "Hey, let's go to the fair," because I was born and raised in Fresno, California. So, hey, let's go to the Fresno fair. So we did. And I seen this kid I grew up with in elementary, and he started popping. He had a crowd around him. And I remember it specifically. He was popping to Looking for a Perfect Beat, and on Street Jams, some I forgot what album, but Street Jams, and the stuff that he was doing, he did double leg Russian kicks, and to me that blew me away. I was like, oh man, I got to know what this is. Like, what this is breaking. It came back. Like, I got to do it. And so I think for like a whole year, I was making fun of them and coming up with doing the moves that they were doing, but I was actually teaching myself how to do it. So
No doubt.
I guess I made fun of them professionally.
There you go. And how old did you say you were around this time?
Oh, must have been like 15, 16.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
about
you're
15,
talking like
16.
what? Was that like 9th, 10th grade?
Yeah, it was like 10th grade. Yep.
No doubt. And what was the Fresno hip hop scene like back then?
Oh, back then we had a good hip hop scene, man. We had a lot of jams, like just random jams, people throwing little competitions here and there. Hip hop, like because popping started in Fresno with Boogaloo Sam and Popping Pete. So we had a lot of poppers, and we had a lot of competitions, people, doing their little talent shows and stuff like that. So it was good. It was growing. A lot of people developed their skills and their talents. So that was pretty good. It was big, man. It was thriving at that time from 92, I would say, to like 2000. A lot of people in between that time and that era, they kind of, just fell off, had families and stuff.
Wow. So being from the place where popping started, what made you go to the breaking instead of just being like, well, I'm gonna do what I see more, which is the popping?
It was crazy because I had a lot of influence from this kid. Somebody had told me this kid was buzzing. His name was Zare. People knew about him, and he was a really dope kid. And then when I started seeing my friend Larry Gonzalez, he was doing the Russian kicks, and I was like, "Yo, that's cool." It's funny because I never taught myself that move. I never learned it. I still can't do it. But Gabby, I heard about Gabby and I wanted to see what he can do. And then once I seen what he can do, he was a big inspiration on me. He was doing like bridges, which were kind of like hollowbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that inspired me. Popping, I didn't see so much people popping like really hard and something that was so influential for me to grasp onto it. But I think breaking just kind of grabbed me by the lasso and said, okay, you're going to do this now.
Wow. And, Fresno is an interesting city, man. It's kind of a rough city to come up in. How was it coming up as a B-boy from Fresno or just in Fresno?
It was bad. It was bad, especially at that time. The way I can explain it is.
So meth is still a huge problem in this country. And that's something that you can really feel right here in Fresno, California.
When I was young, this didn't exist. Meth is so cheap, it's everywhere now. It doesn't matter who has it.
You get, in the early 90s, you get families that were so involved into gangs from each part of California, like from LA to San Francisco. Mm-hmm. Fresno smack in the middle. So you get all those people from those gangs, those rival gangs, and they come into one city, or one place, it'll be like the Central Valley, California, Fresno. So we got into a lot of fights. I've been into a lot of fights growing up because I had to defend myself. And I had two brothers who ran rival gangs. So
like
it was
blood brothers?
Yeah, blood brothers. Oh. My oldest brother, he was, from Red. He was a blood bulldog, what they called it.
This program contains graphic material, including offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised. Their bite is worse than their bark.
Boom, give it to me, dog. I don't care who you are, you're gonna hate us.
These hardcore killers are terrorizing Fresno, California.
Just walking up to somebody putting a gun to their thumb. It's a rush, man. Just nothing like it.
You're either with us or you're against us.
Come on, kick them.
And everyone is an enemy.
We've had death threats against our gang officers, against me.
We're bulldogs, we don't give a
Gangland.
Right.
The hometown gang. And my middle brother was a Crip growing up. Mm. And he's Korean. So he claimed Crip. So if I hung out with one of them, I got tormented by the rival gang. So I was breaking at this time, but I said, you know what, I'm going to practice. And I just started practicing. I remember going to practice and getting jumped on my way to practice.
Wow.
And I remember some guys had jumped me, and one guy had stepped on my hand because I slipped. He stepped on my hand, so my hand was really messed up from breaking. And so I had no choice but to go to practice, stay positive, go to practice, and learn how to break from my back. So my flow, it helped my flow a lot more, and I was just creating and creating. So all that built up anger gravitated for me breaking. That's all I wanted, to get my anger out and my aggression and come up with these moves, because I've been into a few battles where I wasn't aggressive enough. So I was like, I got to get that aggression. So I learned from all that, struggle and strife, being a product of Fresno.
And it's crazy that, with the story you just threw at us, you could have easily got your anger out by being a bulldog or a Crip. Your brothers are already in it. You already getting pressed by rivals. You could be like, okay, bulldogs pressed me today, I'm Cripping. Or Crips pressed me today, I'm bulldogging. I don't know if that's a term they use, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, that's how it was. That's exactly how it was. Like, I remember going to practice, catching the city bus, and there was a bulldog on there, and he remembered my brother, and he says, they called
the Korean
me
brother, right? The Crip Korean brother, right?
No. The bulldog was my oldest brother. The Korean brother was, yeah.
No, I understand that part. I'm talking about the bulldog on the bus. Is he remembering you for being a Crip's brother, or is he remembering you from being a bulldog's brother?
The bulldog's brother.
Bulldog's brother. My
Yeah.
bad.
So he wanted to hang out with me. He said, "Hey, we're gonna go and what do you say? Oh, we're going to this quinceañera, and where everybody's gonna be there. All the homies gonna be there. You should go on breakdance. I'll give you $50." And I was like, "Oh, cool. I don't have no money, so." All right, let me think about it. I took his pager down because back then we had pagers. So I took his pager number down, and he took mine down. The quinceañera was coming up in a matter of hours, and he was texting me, and I was kind of thinking, "Damn, there's gonna be a lot of gangsters there, man. I know I'm gonna know them, but right now it's not safe."
Mm-hmm.
So I went home and I got ready, and my dad said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm gonna go to a quinceañera." He goes, "I don't think you should go." And I was like, "Why not?" He goes, "It's pretty bad. They had a drive-by shooting near that area." And I said, "All right, yeah, I won't go." I had respect for my dad. I said, "All right, I won't go." So
Okay.
come to find out, the quinceañera got drive-by shot up.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So with the quinceañera, so I'm assuming that you grew up in, like, the area you grew up in, was it a heavily Latino populated area?
Yeah,
Okay.
I grew up Mexican. My dad was Irish. My mom is Korean.
Okay.
My brother's a Crip. My oldest brother's a Bulldog. My neighborhood, yeah, it was crazy. My neighborhood I grew up in was Mexican and Black dominated.
Right.
The population was there, so I grew up multicultural.
Mm-hmm.
And the crazy thing is, I stood out, and I knew there was a change for me. But if I would have became a gangster, or even if I would have stayed in Fresno, I wouldn't have been here on the on the Zoom with you.
No doubt. You could have lost it at that party.
Oh, I could have lost it a lot of times. I had a lot of near death experiences being in Fresno.
Wow.
But,
So wait, but I don't hold on. We got to put this in perspective, man. You have a Irish father, correct?
Mhm.
Korean mother,
Mhm.
a bulldog, a Crip, and a future internationally known B-boy all living in the same spot.
Yeah, yeah,
That in a Latino black neighborhood.
and yep.
Okay, now that
Yep.
we've put that all in perspective, go ahead, my brother. But
Yeah.
that's so. Who were some of your early mentors and influences? Because you know how, like, when we start breaking, it takes us a while to get into our style, right? So I'm assuming that the style that we know you for, and we'll talk about those influences later, but the style that we know Bboy Erik for, I'm assuming is not the style you started with, or is it?
Oh, so yeah, check this out. So Larry, the guy that inspired me to break, or my first introduction to the resurgence of breaking in the '90s, he came to my house one time, and I had this broken down stereo. It played, it just didn't have a cover to it. We had to rig the tapes and stuff. He came to practice, and we were practicing, and everybody around me was taking off their shoes and putting helmets on. They were doing power moves, flares and windmills and 90s and head spins, and that's all they did. And I wanted to do freezes. I seen somebody do a freeze, and I was intrigued by it. And I forgot what it was. I think it was just the way my friend Gabby did a bridge. And so I seen Gabby do the bridge, and I was like, yeah, I want to do stuff like that. I want to create. So I started creating different moves in different positions. I didn't have foundation. I didn't have like a lot of up rock. My shuffled up rock was just kind of like to hurry up and get to the floor. So,
No doubt.
but I remember telling Larry, all I want to do is focus on freezes. And that made me stand out, because a lot of people in my community, that's all they were doing was power moves. And for me, freezes and positions and creating was like my outlet of my own self identity, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, that's dope, man. And because that's definitely what I know you for, and we'll talk about how I first came into the knowledge of Bboy Erik a little bit later. But so you were in a very well-known West Coast crew, Soul Control, right? So
Yep.
What is the history of Soul Control, and how did you get down with Soul Control?
I know Soul Control was two separate crews in LA, the LA Burbank area. I believe it was Soul Swift and Ground Control. I want to say, I could be
Okay.
wrong, but
Okay.
Soul Swift and Ground Control, they always practiced together because they didn't live that far, and they befriended each other at jams and practices, local practices, and they just decided to become a crew. And they became well known because of their moves, because they had Cujo, which is a dude that's very strong, very acrobatic, and very innovative. So they became Soul Control. And I remember my friend Sean was a Bay Area legend, which they called the Mega Man. He met up with these guys, and he befriended those guys, and then he befriended a guy from Fresno. And they went to go check them out. And he said, "Oh, this is so-and-so from Fresno. You should meet up with him and you should practice with him." And the guy was very envious of Soul Control because he knew more about them than I did. To me, I was more into like the B-Boys, like Renegades, Floor Rockers from San Jose. But Freestyle Session 3, I was not a member of Soul Control then. I just battled with them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So me and my friend at the time, my best friend at the time, we had routines and we practiced in Fresno, and a crew member from Fresno said to us, "Hey, do you guys want to battle with us?" And I looked at my friend, I said, "What do you think?" Because we didn't enter. And he said, "Yeah, let's do it." So, all right, cool. We did it. We did a few rounds, and me and him had a routine, and we had a semifinal with battle utensils with like Iron Monkey and Energetic and Reveal. And they said, "Okay, we got a tie with you guys. We need one round from each." So I think it was Mega Man. I mean, I'm sorry, it was Iron Monkey had did that round with them. They went first, and then me and my boy pulled off a routine, and we killed it with the routine, and we went to the finals and battled. Yeah, we went to the finals and battled the All-Stars. But they didn't give me a Soul Control then either. I think it was like a few jams, then they got me in. It's very interesting. It's taking me back to the times.
No doubt. So would you say that the freestyle sessions and then the following jams was kind of like a trial period, a get to know you period, or like,
yeah,
what was holding them back? Because you were killing it in these jams. So what was holding them back from just putting you down?
I think it was just like, if I wanted to, I think it was like they wanted me to battle because we were a part of what I would call the four. It was me, my boy Marcio, Charles, and Pablo. And we had the four. So I think Pablo and Charles were Soul Control then. Me and Marcio wasn't, but they wanted us because of my style and Marcio's style. And then together we were strong because we had routines. Yeah, I would say it was like a trial, kind of like a trial period. Yeah. Okay.
No doubt. Now, okay, so, you guys had a run from, I'm going to say probably that Freestyle Sessions 3 till into the 2000s, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Now, what if you had to sit your son down and he just believed you were never cool, right? And you had to say, "No, Dad, Pops was cool one day, once upon a time." What two battles would you show him?
Lords of the Floor and the UK B-Boy champs, Soul Control versus Rocksteady.
Wow. Okay. Now, Lords of the Floor. which I think is have always thought was way better than Red Bull BC1, but I digress on that.
The crazy thing is Lords of the Floor was a trial period. So we met this guy named Bob the Balance from Soul Control. Bob the Balance from Circle of Fire from Seattle. Because I lived in Seattle from 2000 to 2003. Bob the Balance from Circle of Fire, we were dancing at this club. He befriended this guy named Jameson Keegan. Jameson Keegan was the rep for Red Bull. And Jameson Keegan said, I'm interested in doing competitions because I heard you talk about them, because they had a conversation. He said, I heard you talk about competitions. I'm interested in putting to competition. What would you think about having a meeting? So they did. And then Bob seeked my advice on a couple things. And then Bob says, I got to fly to LA to have a meeting with these guys from Red Bull.
I was early. I was like first 20 on the marketing staff. And I remember in my interview, I wore a suit and I flew down to Santa Monica, California. It was such a hot day. And I had lunch with like a brand new director of marketing. She had gone to like Ivy League. She was Ivy League, MBA'd out. Like I was like, whoa, big league. I'm like a music industry slacker, like
with a sick resume.
It had cool names on it. I don't know if I really did a lot, but just kind of, I hung up the banners at the concerts and managed the modulators and things like that. It was busy. It was very busy. If you could run around fast and, had half a brain, you could do that job pretty well. It was a great time for radio too. So I'm interviewing and they said, okay, if we hire you, what are you doing? Like day one. And I was like, oh man. And I'm just like, I don't know, like taking some cases around to parties with my buddies, like, bringing it backstage to places. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to be the local marketing manager. And this idea wasn't like a fresh revelation, but I said, I'd love to do a breakdance event. I'd love to produce a really, really legit B-boy contest here in Seattle. And they were like, tell us more. And I was like, well, don't have it all fleshed out yet, but I want to bring together the best crews in the country. And I want to give them a chance to really showcase their skills and talents. And after they hired me, they were like, do you still want to do that breakdance event? And I was like, yeah, like that's what I signed up for. And they were like, go to it. And I pitched them on a budget and they didn't even blink. They were like, yep, cool. And then, 4 months into planning, I came back and said, like, need a bunch more money. Like, we got to build a custom dance floor. We need to rent an airplane hangar at Sandpoint. We need to fly in probably 30, 40 B-boys from all over the country, from Miami to New York and Toronto and LA. And they were like, yeah, go for it. So we did 2 years of this Lords of the Floor event. And like, I thought to myself, I got the coolest job in the world. Since I saw the movie Beat Street, I was like, this culture, like I just am in love with it. And all of a sudden I'm on the phone with Ken Swift and on the phone with K-Mel, who is this like legendary underground B-boy, and Ivan and the Circle of Fire crew, Bob Foxhoven, who I built the whole event with. Like we met up like every other day and planned this event. And then we got to put it on. And it was a pretty big hit. It was a pretty special thing for their culture globally. And Red Bull made all that happen. And they celebrated it. They were like, wow, like, look what this guy did. That's kind of cool. Like, and then it was like, how'd you do that? And I was like, I don't know. I just like had a bunch of time and money. And really what I did, and what I always try to tell people if they work for a company that gives you those opportunities, like connecting with the leaders of those cultures and those scenes. Like I didn't come up with hardly any of the ideas. I think I might have said, oh, let's pump smoke into this thing so it looks like Madison Square Garden, or Bob and I agreed together, let's build bleachers up off the floor so everyone's looking down at the action, because all the big B-boy contests in the world at that time were on a big stage. So you'd look up, so people would celebrate the big aerials, but no one would really see the amazing floor work. So we were like, if we build it up, they can look down and get all the intricacies of those cool moves. So anyway, that was kind of like my claim to fame. I did those 2 events. I really got to build genuine relations. I mean, I booked Z-Trip for that first. Like Z-Trip was on the come up. I mean, I can tell you what we paid for him, and it's probably what he gets just to wake up in the morning right now. You know,
like a $10,000 act back then, or not even.
Oh, dude, no way. Yeah, he was way south of there. Although he did blow off our finals. His manager. Hey, here's a lesson about management. Like, she came up to me right before finals, and she's like, "Hey, it's been great. We got to go." And I'm like, "Where?" And she's like, "Back to LA." And I'm like, no, this is finals. Like, he had played. It's not like he just was cruising.
Right.
And she's like, no, he's opening for his favorite DJ in LA tonight. So, really sorry, but like, thanks. Like, we're getting our car right now. And I'm like, I gotta like put my opener back on. So thanks for that lesson in management. And the next year we booked J-Rock, and I got to be, the guy behind the scenes with the headset on that just like shook everyone's hand, and people knew kind of like helped make it happen, along with Bob Foxhoven, who's just like a total legend and visionary. And I mean, I got to give him credit. It was, the whole thing was really much more his idea than mine.
And at that time, Red Bull was good, but it wasn't so popular. And Bob flew to LA. They said, hey, they're going to make the floor. We're going to do it in an abandoned plane hangar in Seattle.
Wow.
They're building the floor. We're getting judges. He goes, they already got a judge and they got a DJ. All we need to do is pick the other 2 judges. So they did. And that was the first competition for Red Bull, which Bob says they want to pick 2 of the best people from each crew out of 8 crews. So they had the great 8, and then they had the 8 crews that made their way or paid their dues. So yeah, that was actually the first Red Bull sponsored competition.
So are you telling us that the Red Bull team has Bob the Balance to thank for making that connection, either directly or indirectly?
Oh yeah, you heard it from me directly, and Bob will tell you, even Circle of Fire will tell you that Bob spent sleepless nights on the computer creating the video, creating the logo, and me and Bob were so close. On the second video, he put me as the cover.
There you go, man. And that was, I don't know, I remember those VHSs, and those were just dope events, man. The setting was dope, and it was Ruin and Caveman won the first one, right?
Yeah, Ruin and Caveman battled. They battled Migas and K-Mel.
Right.
And they won the first one, and then K-Mel came back with Pookie, El Nino, and they won the second one.
Pulled them out of a bag.
Yo, he was suffocating, bro.
That's crazy. And wait, side note, I didn't even this is the same battle that spawns the K-Mel versus Migas hotel battle, correct?
Yes.
Because
no. The first one was because I think they were getting on each other about their performances or their battling, or are you up to par and all this other stuff. Okay. And I think K-Mel was getting on him and saying stuff like, yo, you need to work on your form, or you need to work on your freezes. And then leading up into the hotel battle, they started battling. And that was like, if you break down that battle, it was so dope, because you got to get into the minds of like masters. Like these dudes were just like masters, just going at it.
Right.
It was dope. Yeah.
You also got to get into the mind of K-Mel don't care if you his homeboy or not. He's gonna call you out on your bullcrap.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I got. Let me paint this story for you, and this is actually really good. So after the loss, K-Mel and Migas lost at Lords of the Floor. Me and Bob the Balance were driving Petra from Germany, and who's the other guy? I forget who the other person was, but Ken Swift. It was Ken Swift. It was Petra from Germany and Ken Swift. We were driving them to the club. But at the battle, K-Mel was talking to Ken Swift and telling him, like, yo, B, you're going to get it, B. I'm going to smoke you and at the jam. K-Mel was telling Ken Swift that. So we were like, oh, shit, what's going on? So we drove Ken Swift back, to the after party. And Ken Swift's like, yo, this dude's going to get it, B, when he gets back to New York. So he goes, yo, I better not see that cat at the club. Ken Swift was saying.
He saw him at the club, didn't he?
Well, now let me paint this picture for you. So I'm sitting in the back of the window. There's a Cypher right by the window. I'm standing on this edge of the window, and to my right, there's a bar, and you see Ivan, Ken Swift, I think it was Cross or somebody. People are ciphering. I look because I had a clear eye view. I look to the front door because it was right there, or a distance away. I look, I see Mouse from Boogie Brad's come in. Migas comes in after him. K-Mel comes in after him, shaking hands and all this other stuff. And then I was like, oh shit, about to go down. So somehow these dudes make it to the Cypher. Ken Swift sees them, and he's like finishing his drink or whatever. Kind of like gently walks into the Cypher. Migas goes out first to see if anybody had beef with Migas. Mm-hmm. No one had beef with Migas because Migas did 4 rounds straight, one after another. Like he went out, boom, way to the side. No one came out, went out again. No one went out. No one wanted to call Migas out. And then next thing you know, Ken Swift is right there at the Cypher. K-Mel takes his gear off or whatever, and he just goes at it. They meet in the Cypher, and they start rocking each other, and they're slapping hands. They're like slapping hands real hard, slapping stomachs, and slapping each other up and down. They're rocking each other, rock battling.
Wow, with all contact, full contact of rocking.
Contact. It was the dopest thing I ever seen, man.
Wow,
it was the dopest exchange even afterwards when they were all said and done, because they were battling, they were going rounds too. And outside they talked a little bit and they kind of cleared the air. Even Migas was like talking like he wanted to battle some more or whatnot because they felt they got robbed. So it was dope, bro. That guy was like, that's why I love this damn competition, man.
It's crazy. It's crazy how many like dope things are you had to be there moments in breaking. Like some of the dopest things are you had to be there moments. You know what I'm saying?
That was one. That was definitely one. Right. Even the Lords of the Floor, bro. Like the first one, it was so dope because a lot of people came out from all over the world. And the second one was like the anticipation of part 2. So that was like everybody anticipating the return of the Lords. And honestly, I was in LA. I mean, I was in Fresno and I didn't know if I was going to make it or not. To go watch. I wasn't in the line to battle. Somebody from Rhythm Bugs couldn't do it. Iron Monkey was already there. And then Red Bull, which was Jameson Keegan and Cross and Bob, they had all called me and said, hey, where are you at? I was like, oh, I'm at Fresno. Okay. Iron Monkey doesn't have a partner, and Red Bull and everybody else wants you to battle with them. I was like, all right, cool, let's do it. Flew me out the next day. We battled the day when I got there, we battled the next day, and we had 4th place. So that was dope.
Right, fresh off the plane, wasn't even expecting the battle.
I was injured, man. I had a busted shoulder.
Oh,
I got into a motorcycle accident, so I was completely injured, but not fully injured. I was recovered, but not fully recovered. Mm-hmm. So I had lingering injuries. So where if I tried some things and I fell, I was like, oh, well, at least I tried.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, and then the other battle you mentioned, the Rocksteady crew battle, that was the UK Champs 2000, right?
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah, we ended with Soul Control.
How did you feel about that one?
All right, bro, we're gonna get into it.
Let's get into it. Let me get comfortable. Yeah, no.
All right, let me get into it. Okay, so. It was my first time flying. First time flying, we flew 9 hours from LA to London. We get to the jam, and somebody from Soul Control writes on, because our dressing room was right across from Rocksteady's dressing room. Okay. So somebody wrote American Airlines fans of Crazy Legs on the Rocksteady paper. I'm not shitting you. And then our dressing room was right across, and we didn't do foundation. We did power moves. Mostly the crew was power moves. I did a little bit. I knew a little bit. So Crazy Legs comes in with a camera, and he's kind of confused. He didn't know what's going on. He says, yo, he films he has our door open, and we're in there chilling, and we never met Crazy Legs. I looked up to him growing up. So yeah, I had I'll get into that again. So he films the sign that says "Fans of Crazy Legs," and then he says, "I don't know what's going on with these guys. We're gonna get to the bottom of this. We're gonna come back and figure this out." And it was like me, Charles, and guys from Suicidal Lifestyle. I think Gumby was there.
Mm-hmm.
And so he comes back with all the rock steady that were there. Flow Rock, Easy Rock, Heps Fury, Alien S, Speedy was his name. The Popper, Sweepy. They all, Tough Tim Twist, they all come out and they're like trying to figure out what's going on, and they're kind of like hassling us, you know what I mean? Like Bogart in the dressing room. And so we tell Crazy Legs, yo, we're a fan of you, man. Like, you're taking out of proportion.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, no, fuck that. You guys do power moves. You got to do foundation. You guys ain't B-boys and all the shit. We're like, and then Charles gets up. It's like, yo, you coming at us wrong. And then I get up. It's like, yo, you're taking it out way out of proportion. It's not even nothing like that. So he was like, oh, whatever. We're going to see you on the dance floor. So I was like fucking bummed out. Like, damn, this is the guy I look up to. Fuck. All right. So Charles goes downstairs. Rock City goes into their dressing room, or they're going to practice or whatever. So we get downstairs. Crazy Legs is the host, and he's a judge. First, they had a hat.
Eric, put it in perspective. Crazy Legs, the guy who was just bogarting into your room, bringing his crew into your room, saying that you're not a B-boy, is a judge of a competition that you guys are in. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's wild. But go ahead, man. My bad.
Okay, so it gets a little funky. So they pull out the hat. The first battle of the night. Guess who?
You guys versus Rocksteady Crew.
Yes. So Rocksteady goes first, and they pull out like a 3 to 4 minute commando routine on us, completely taking over the crowd. But by this time, I think Crazy Legs was kind of talking about the British B-boys and just, you know, saying all this other stuff. So my friend Ollie, the day before, my friend Ollie bought me a Union Jack shirt, which had the British flag on it. So I think I was the second person to go out. I went out there, and take this in mind. This is crazy. I call this a touch of God. I went out there, I did my shuffle, and I went up for the cannonball freeze. And I went completely upside down, where my whole body was grabbing my knees, and I went completely upside down. I held the freeze, and in the freeze, I'm thinking to my head, did I just get stuck? And I got stuck in the freeze. Like, I was like, oh
right.
Shit, I'm stuck. And then I got myself out of the freeze. I could have held it longer. Honestly, the feeling is I could have held it longer. So I got out of the freeze. I did the full work. I took my Union Jack. I took my long sleeve shirt off, and then I had the Union Jack shirt, and the crowd went nuts, like bonkers.
So you stole all the energy back.
I stole, just from that freeze and that shirt, I stole all the energy back.
Wow. Did he get on the mic hating? Did he do damage control?
He was talking all kinds of mess. After I took off the shirt and I flexed like, yeah, that's what's up. And then everybody went nuts. I actually got a job to Norway after that.
What?
So that was cool. Yeah. No, this kid named Adil, I still remember him. He went up to me. Who was it? Me and Cujo. He went up to me and Cujo, and he says, "Yo, Eric, I want to fly you out to Norway." And I was like, "Okay." He goes, "Yeah, this would be in February." I was like, "All right, here's my Hotmail." You know, Hotmail is so old.
You are aging yourself in this interview. We went from pagers to Hotmail.
Pagers to Hotmail to city buses. So I got an email from him like maybe 2 weeks later after the UK champs, and he ended up flying me, Reveal, and Cujo out. We stayed there for 2.5 weeks.
Wow. But before you get too far out of the Rocksteady battle, how do you feel? I mean, of course, you didn't get a fair shake, but like just based on your opinion, how do you feel it shook out? You versus those guys.
Respect wasn't so much involved. The battle was hyped up from the dressing room incident, and from someone that we looked up to, we kind of lost the respect in a sense of being misunderstood. And then as soon as we got down to battle, it seemed like a setup. And then it seems like all that respect went out the window, where it was like it should have been respect. Like we should have just had respect from the beginning, just because we didn't get a fair shake. And it felt like, all right, even though we lost, it should have been hands down. Like we could have said, oh yeah, we lost. But this time it was like, yo, we're going to have to give it to them. Like, we're going to have to do this. We're going to have to do that. We had to like improvise a strategy. It was like, yo, these guys got the best of us, with our emotion, and they came prepared. But I wish it would have been like, we would have battled, we would have worked our way up to defeat, instead of just going into defeat.
Right.
So we set ourselves up from that dressing room incident for defeat, because we already knew what was going on. As soon as they called up the first battle, we were like, all right, we lost.
Yeah, he's like, the fix is in, no doubt. Now, did this turn into any subsequent battles with them? Like, did you guys see them later on down the line and say, basically its own site, or nah?
No, not at all. Florock, which from Las Vegas, he was very respectful. He liked us because he's from the States, and the other cats were like from the East Coast mostly. And Florock kind of put that new mutual respect and told us, hey, no, relax, chill, relax, chill. Like, don't get all crazy, relax. He even told us, and we shook his hand, and we gave him a lot of respect. Easy Rock too. I had a lot of respect for Easy Rock. Easy Rock could have, like, in the battle, dissed me, flipped me off, or whatever. I still had a lot of respect for Easy Rock, because I was someone that I really, really looked up to growing up. So, but yeah, it was more like, going into the battle, we already set ourselves up for defeat. We lost, and we never really had a fair shake on battling or even battling again. I know a lot of stuff was said online, but nothing materialized as far as like anybody calling me out to battle, or anybody calling out Cujo to a battle, or Charles. So.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So now, I said we were going to talk about it later, and now's a good time. Now, the first time I ever see Bboy Erik is my Freestyle Sessions 3 VHS tape back in the day with the red, white, and blue beanie, right?
Yeah.
So, you were there. So that means that you were there in the early days of Freestyle Sessions. First, was that your first Freestyle Session, or were you at 1 and 2 as well?
No, I wasn't at 1 because that wasn't kind of promoted like that. I was in at 2. I actually seen 2 on a VHS tape, and so I was like, "Oh, it's Freestyle Session 2," and I was like, "Oh, cool, man! I want to go to one if they have another." And then that's when we caught the flyer for Freestyle Session 3, and it was a physical flyer. That's how they promoted it, and it was months ahead. And that's how we practiced to who we thought we were going to battle, like studying our homework, I guess, in a way. So when they said, "Yeah, we're going to go to Freestyle Session 3," I was like, "Oh, cool. Well, I'm going to get time off my job. We got to find a ride over there. We got to get the proper amount of money. Where are we staying?" So all this accumulated to Freestyle Session 3. And like I said, I wasn't even supposed to battle. But something, I don't know, man, I feel like something was pulling me to compete. I didn't know with who. But as soon as Soul Control said, "Hey, you want to compete?" I was like, "Yeah, cool." And then I did, and I felt good. And we went home. I had food poisoning, I think, the night before, because they all went to Mexico, and they met up with Storm. And I was like, damn it, I should have met up with Storm. But I had food poisoning. I had to stay home. So,
wow.
But yeah, Freestyle Session 3 was my first.
So, what do you think it was about Freestyle Session as an event that attracted so many B-boys and just kind of basically was a success from its beginning?
So I gave it a shot like a couple months later. It was in November '97. Same place, L Street Boys and Girls Club, and I was really only expecting like 200 or 300 people. You know what I mean? At the time I was hanging out with Ivan, so like one time we were you know, back then we didn't have like cell phones or anything, so like we'd open up the black book and just go down the line and call everybody up, like, yo, dude, like, I'm throwing a jam out here, and this is the date, like, what's up?
No, you know? Facebook invites, no texting.
No. I literally like I would put stamps on flyers and send them to people directly. I was sending out boxes to people, like I sent them to people in Denver, Las Vegas, Arizona, anywhere that I went to go break and meet people at, I sent them flyers, you know what I mean? So next thing you know, 3 months later, we have the jam, and it's like, I'm expecting like 300 people, and like 700 or 800 people are in the spot. You know?
People are just traveling from everywhere.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, I mean, there wasn't that many crews that entered. It's maybe like 8 crews that entered, but we had about 700 people paid. You know what I mean? Back then, the jam was only $7. Just from there, it just kind of sparked me off. Like, dude, I could do this.
Well, I think from the first freestyle session, you had a lot of like heavy hitters from LA. You had like LA Breakers. You had Ugly People, which is like, you know, the homies. You had Master Movements. You had Iron Monkey, Reveal. Like all these cats were having a name for themselves for local Southern California jams. So I think it was like Freestyle Session 3 was so anticipated and people wanted to go because they seen part 2 was really hype. I think Ivan was there, and Ivan had a name for himself. So they're like, yo, if we're going to go to Freestyle Session 3, we're going to meet Ivan, we're going to meet this and that, we're going to meet, you know, so-and-so from LA. And it was anticipated. It was kind of like a Lords of the Floor part 2 kind of thing.
Wow.
So people anticipated Freestyle Session, and they're like, yo, Freestyle Session, let's go check it out. Let's go see what it is about. And we didn't have that much competitions. Competitions were barely like, they're thriving. Any competition in North California or Southern California, the B-Boys would go. They're like, hey, there's a competition in like San Francisco, and people would be in San Diego. Okay, cool. We got 2.5 months to plan. So let's plan it. And they plan it and they go. So it was like the LA competition, the San Francisco competition was there. But for us in Fresno, we were 3 hours between both. LA would have to drive further, and then San Francisco would have to drive further to LA. So with us, we're smack in the middle of Fresno. We're like, Freestyle Session? Cool. 4.5 hours to San Diego? All right, cool. Let's do it. We did it.
Yeah. All right, now for my next thing I'm going to talk to you about is going to be highly opinionated. But so do you want to go crews then individuals, or individuals and then crews?
Wait, say that again?
You want to do crews and individuals, or do you want to do individuals and then crews?
It don't matter. Whatever you want to do.
So the top 10 West Coast B-Boys during your run in your prime. If you had to make a top 10 list.
All right. Top 10, that's gonna be tough. Wicked.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is wicked. Oh, the funk is real. Forward fanatic. Rock. Renegade.
Jazzy J. See, Wicked, Jazzy J, Sway, Remind for sure.
Stop.
Crumbs.
B-Boy Crumbs. Round one. Style elements.
Super Dave. Reveal.
All right, Calamity, go.
Iron Monkey. Pablo. Rainin. Yeah. I don't know if that's 10, but yeah, that's pretty much what I can remember for now.
Okay. And then what about top 5 crews in the on the West Coast during your run?
On the West Coast? Okay, so you had Renegades, Style Elements, LA Breakers, Rhythm Bugs, and Soul Control.
Okay. These were the unstoppable forces.
These were the names that made a couple of posts on bboy.com saying, I want to see Soul Control versus LA Breakers or Renegades versus Style Elements. And so that was kind of like, at that time, Cujo had a big name for himself. So it was Cujo and Soul Control. That we had a lot of heavy hitters with power moves that were very innovative.
Right.
So that was, yeah.
Okay. Ultimately, you leave Soul Control.
Yeah.
Now, from the outside looking in, like I never understood why you left because one, you had put in so much work under that banner, and now that we're finding out some of that work you were putting in, you weren't even all the way in the crew, right? Like starting with the Freestyle Sessions 3. And then it was like a great crew. You guys had good members, good chemistry. You guys were winning battles, traveling the world. Why would you leave?
So it was, I want to say, I'm trying to put it in a better way without stumbling. Let's see. I was active. Like I was in Soul Control officially in San Francisco. I think they had told me in San Francisco, like a Mighty Ford event, they asked us because I was like killing it. I was in the Cyphers and I was just really hungry for battles. So they had asked me, Cujo had asked me, and I said, yeah, okay, sure. All right. So I ended up getting down, and then I've been down. I've been paying dues and just repping really hard. Freestyle Session 4 came, and I entered with Ronnie Ruin and Caveman, which at that time, Ronnie Ruin was called Kid Sub. So we entered the battle and we won, and that's because Soul Control didn't want to enter. And then Freestyle Session 5 came around, and I wanted to enter, but I couldn't enter because Soul Control didn't want to enter. So there's a lot of times where I wanted to enter battles, but my crew didn't want to enter battles, and I wanted to enter with somebody, but I could never do it because no one wanted to enter. And I remember entering with Rhythm Bugs at I think it was like ESPN Clash or something like that. I entered with Rhythm Bugs, and we did good. Of course, we lost because it seemed like it was kind of tailored to Style Elements, but they earned it because they were killing it. But yeah, I think it was so far to remember. But I paid so much dues with Soul Control. I had 3 goals when it came to breaking. First goal was me being half Korean. I wanted to go to Korea and compete.
Did you check that off?
Well, that's a story.
Yeah,
that's a defining story.
Okay. Well,
so while I was in Norway in February with Cujo asked me, "When is your birthday?" No. Cujo says, "Hey, do you want to go to Korea?" I'm like, "Yeah." Fuck yeah, I want to go to Korea.
Yeah, you damn straight.
So I was like excited, like, yeah, I want to go to Korea, man. Yeah, cool. He goes, okay, it's a 3-on-3. So far it's me, you, and then somebody else. And by this time, I was bumping heads with somebody. And we didn't get along, and we didn't meet. We didn't meet together on decisions that kind of benefited the crew. So I said, hey, don't pin me up with so and so because of this. I was like, all right. So I ended up going back to Seattle from Norway. I flew back to Seattle. That's where I was living at the time with Circle of Fire. And I called Cujo like 2 weeks later before May, because May was my birthday. I told Cujo, I said, hey, who's getting who's the third person? And he goes, oh, well, they handpicked the crew. So it's already picked. It's Charles and Mega Man. So by this time I'm heartbroken. Like,
wow.
Yeah, I'm like heartbroken. Like, damn, man, I didn't get to go to Korea. Sucks. And I told Cujo, yo, I'm out, dude. Like, I can't do this, man. This sucks. Like, I paid so much dues, and I temporarily out of Soul Control. So, come to find out, the day before the trip, I go home. I get off of work. I go home, and I see Orb from Circle of Fire sitting on the couch, and he's like, yo, I got to go to John Jay's house. You want to come with me? I was like, yeah. And John Jay is like pretty much the one spearheading the competition, but he lives in Seattle. He's from Circle of Fire. So John Jay said to Orb, hey, I need your passport, stuff like that. And then he says, hey, yo, Eric, you got a passport? I was like, yeah. He says, okay. Style Elements couldn't make it. So far it's you or are you guys gonna enter with Poe? I was like, what the hell?
Wow.
Hell yeah, let's go. So I went home, which we call the firehouse. I went to the firehouse. We got my passport. Yeah, the next day we went to Korea.
Wow.
We met up with them in San Francisco. Connecting flight. We met up with them in San Francisco, and then we ended up going to Korea. But the look on their faces was classic.
Priceless.
And we end up winning. Me, Poe, and Orb, we end up winning.
Nice. Even more priceless. What was the event?
The event was called Return of the B-Boy Masters.
Okay.
Yeah, it was connected to that.
I wonder if I had that VHS back in the day. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, probably.
That wasn't the one with the black and white floor in that in the wall right there, was it? Maybe so. I don't know.
I think so. And it had like a lot of lights.
Yeah, definitely had a lot of lights.
Yeah, that was it.
Possibly.
The crazy thing is that we battled Soul Control before the finals, and we won them, and then we battled Battle Utensil or Rock Force, and Soul Control had to judge that one, and Soul Control said that we were winners.
Dang.
I was like, I didn't judge it. You guys said we won. I'll take that. I'm from Korea, so this means a lot more to
me. He said, I'm trying to plant flags.
Yo, I know. I'm trying to make people cry because Koreans are so dramatic. So they said, they said, oh yeah, he's from California. His grandparents are born, and he did it for them and stuff like that. So it's dramatic. And they brought me flowers, and they made some people were crying and stuff like that.
So you said you were with Poe, like Poe won, right?
Yeah, it was me, Orb, and Poe.
So you have Bboy, you have Poe, you have Bryson. Somebody even has thrown Asia One's name in the mix before. Can any of those people that I just named claim creating the air chair?
Poe. So this is a crazy great minds think alike thing. So I remember seeing a battle. It was Air Force had put together a battle called Radiotron. And I remember Poe won doing this move called the Tiger and the Eagle, or what, the Snake and the Eagle, where he did a chair freeze. The foot that was on top went to the back of his knee, and he went back to go back to his feet, go back to footwork. He got stuck in that position. And when he got stuck in that position, he put his hand up like a snake, and that was the freeze. He called it that freeze. I don't know if he called it the air chair, but I remember that specific freeze. He called it the snake and the eagle. And for me, I was always doing bridge freezes at the time. I seen Flowmaster at a B-Boy Summit do a bridge with no feet, and they call it the hollowback. So I was working on the hollowback. I was like, oh man, people are getting creative with this no hands, no feet kind of thing. So I remember doing a chair freeze, and I lifted my feet up and I held it like that, balancing myself on my feet, on my hands. You know, the hand that was under me and the hand that was on top. And then I remember trying to be creative and grab my foot or grab my knee, or just be creative at practice. And I remember sticking it like that, and I'll set it up to where I go full work and just jump back, and I'll hold it because that's what I wanted to do with freezes. So I kept doing it, and a couple jams in California, a couple jams like over out of town, I kept doing it. And I didn't call it the chair freeze. I just called it, a freeze. And a lot of people told me too, like, hey man, I remember I remember seeing this movie you do, man. It was so dope. And I have an idea from it. Tell me if it's biting, and they'll tell me. And I was like, no, yeah, man, they call it the air chair. Like it's more of like you're sitting in the air and you're going back, and all this other stuff. Like, all right, cool. But I've seen a couple of people do it the same way that I did it, and I was like, yo, that's a bite. So I don't know. I would like to say I had a hand in it, because if I said I created it, I guess I would be full of ego. But I had a hand in innovating it.
Wow.
I know at a time where not too many people were doing it. I think me and Paul were doing different ideas at the same time. And Bboy, we didn't see too much of Bboy till later, but he probably could have been doing it a little bit before us or a little bit after us. I don't know the times, but yeah, to be modest, I would say I definitely would have had a hand in innovating that freeze.
So from your perspective, it was you and Poe, like from what you actually saw. You said Bboy might have been doing it, but he was in Miami. But from
Bboy was in Miami, so we didn't have any documented footage of him doing it at the time that we were doing it. So he probably could have, he probably couldn't have. I don't know. But Poe had a freeze that he did from that position that he called Snake and the Eagle. To me, I had the position itself tailored towards being inspired by the freeze that Poe did.
Okay.
But he had a position for that, and I just had a balanced position. So it was like I stuck the freeze and I balanced it out, and I just held it a little longer, and I created a lot of different ideas from that. So
wow.
Yeah, at the time in the West Coast, notable it was Poe creating that freeze and me creating that position, but I wouldn't say that I created the chair freeze. I would say I had a hand in innovating it.
No doubt. You might have sparked the mind that created the air chair.
I lit the fuse. I helped, me and Poe helped light the fuse that became a early 90s, early 2000s creative explosion. But also Bryson said that he had an idea like that from Fever One.
Oh, okay. So Bryson, who was a big air chair guy in the earlier days too, said he got it from Fever One.
He said that there was some inspiration going on there where Fever One was doing some stuff, or some Seattle pioneers were doing some stuff like that, and then that's how he got it.
So Fever One was to him what Poe One was to you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. And
yeah,
okay, so
Fever One was a big inspiration to a lot of Seattle cats, him being an OG and him being active. Mm-hmm. So a lot of Seattle cats definitely looked up to Fever.
No doubt. Dope, man. Dope history. So it is that world famous VHS era, the regional style era, right?
Oh my God.
I have a VHS. I'm watching it. Something happens. And then a guy walks into the circle and says, "That was two. That was two." Now, is the situation already in your mind, or you want me to further explain?
No. It's I got it.
Now, so what I'm saying, subscribers and everybody out there watching, is that Erik was one of the first people to witness with his eyes the continuous airflare.
Yeah.
That has went from one air flare to two air flares to a trillion air flares to one arm air flares to elbow. The move is just crazy amongst the people who dabble in the power. But what was that like the first time you saw that?
Oh man, it's kind of heartbreaking, but rest in peace, Pablo. So we were at this place. Called Tetsi Wills, and the place was known for people playing basketball and recreational activities. And we were on stage, and I remember this guy being told this guy named Pablo was from Holland, I believe. I believe he had a birth defect to where one leg was shorter than the other. And Pablo was doing windmills to swipes. And he overextended his swipe, and he over-rotated, and he ended up doing a full rotation of air flare. And Ivan caught wind of that, and Ivan said to me that he called it a Star Trek. And then it was for a windmill Star Trek.
And is that the move where he used to do the windmill and then pop over and then catch it and windmill again?
Windmill air flare. Yeah, that was from the ground. So not too many people. I think what's his name? Jazzy J. I think Jazzy J from the West Coast, from Renegades. I think he did something like that, like an air flare. But no one kind of knew for sure. But for us, we know that there's a very few people. I think Ivan was one. Some people did it from the top. And Charles caught wind of it. Charles did it. And then Pablo did it. But Pablo went to like air flare 90. He was trying to combo the move. And then he did the airflare 90. He ended up kicking a little too hard. He went airflare, and fall. And then we were like, what the hell? Did you do it twice? And this is at practice. And we're like, did you still do it twice? And I remember the people that were there. It was Alex, Pablo's brother. It was my friend X. It was Charles. I think this guy named Little Ray was there. We were all practicing, and then we seen it. We were like, yo, you just did it twice. And then sure enough, he like was happy, and he's like, oh yeah, cool, I'll do it again. And he did it twice. And this was like in 97. Yeah, this is in 97. We have footage. Charles, I believe Charles has footage. But yeah, this is in 97. He started doing 2. Sometimes at practice when it wasn't recorded, he did 4 or 5, like a couple of them just, not stopping. I think at Freestyle Session, he was doing combos with it. So he looked so easy. And he was so short and powerful that when he went to do an air flare, you already knew something was going to happen because there was so much momentum built up. And he did the air flare. I think after Iron Monkey or something like that. And everybody was like astounded. And to me, I was like, what the hell just happened? Like, he just did 2 air flares. He could have done more, but what the hell? And yeah, it blew everybody's mind. People were like, yo, this is crazy, man. An impossible move to do. He did it twice. So that was a first. To me, Pablo was the first one that I seen with my eyes do continuous air flare, because I know a lot of people, if they see the footage, they're going to have their gripes about it. But Pablo, to me, for my eyes, and for a lot of people on the West Coast, first one to do continuous air flare from that I know of, because I know a couple of people from Brazil said that they were the first. And so I'm not a history buff like that.
And you can't be everywhere at once.
Yeah, you can't. I can't time travel. I wasn't there to document it and put it in like the encyclopedia of b-boying. Like, this is what happened at this time. Look it up. Right. But to me, Pablo was the first one of the first West Coast pioneers and power moves to create air flares continuous.
Dope. And then, to your argument, well, one thing, thank you for clearing that up, because like you said, there's all kinds of stories from people, and confusion about it. Some people are like, oh yeah, this guy named Pablo made up the air flares. Like, no, he didn't make it up, but he is the first one that a lot of people saw do it continuously with the 2. Mm-hmm. And, I guess if that move came out in 2020, you would know exactly who made it and when they made it, because they would just post it online. Like, look at this new move I just made up.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, well, so that was a pre-YouTube era, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So
YouTube
everything
is
was
2005. This is in the 90s.
So everything was properly documented on VHS. So if we had footage of Pablo doing it in 97, was there someone doing that air flare in 96? Or someone doing the air flare in 95? Or someone doing the air flare, if Pablo did it in August of 97, was someone there like in May doing it in 97? So it was kind of like, you have to compare the footage, but then you have to understand that Pablo probably didn't have that footage. If someone was doing it in Brazil and Pablo we didn't have videos from Brazil, or someone was doing it in Germany, there's no documented footage of Benny or Tough Kid from Germany doing continuous air flare that we know of before 97. We have footage of Pablo doing it. So
another question, and with all due respect, because at the end of the day, and you would be able to tell me too, because you were there, and I've never done an air flare, right? I assume it's quite a difficult move, but how much does it weigh that he was able to do it twice? Like, how big of a deal is that? Because, for instance, who did 2 windmills? Who did 2 flares? Who did 2 90s? That's never, debated or argued, at least not to my knowledge. But what is it about the air flare where people are making it more of a, no, I did this first type situation?
So when it came to breaking at that time, in that era of the 90s, mid to late 90s, there were moves that people coined a signature move. And there were innovative moves that made you just go, oh man, he did flare 90 flare and grabbed his foot. And then it's like, yo, that's so-and-so's move because he created it. It being someone created the continuous head spin, you definitely want to know who did it. But the airflare was such a new and vibrant move that when someone did one airflare at that time that was like virtually impossible, you would think of them going, damn, that dude can do an airflare. That's like the move that no one can really do right now. And he did it. Oh my God. And then when Pablo creates continuous airflare at that time, everybody's mind was blown because you have this move that was so untouchable that very few people knew how to do. He created the continuous airflare. And to me, so this is the thing about Pablo. And it's crazy because we'll go to practice and we're like, okay, cool. Who's coming to practice? Oh, you have so-and-so is coming to practice. And then when you see Pablo, because you know damn well he's going to do something crazy that you're going to get your mind blown. You know what I'm talking about? Like, you know, someone that you're going to go, oh man, this dude's going to kill it right now.
Right. Even in practice. Doesn't even have to be a jam or a cypher. It doesn't have to be public at all. You just know it's about to go down. Even
when he came to practice and through the doors, we looked and we're like, oh yes, Pablo's here, man. Hell yeah, Pablo's here. He's going to do some stuff, man. This is crazy. This is cool. We're going to have a good practice. And to me, I had to compete against Charles and Pablo when it came to standing out, like a popularity thing. So me and my boy Marcio at the time, we stuck with foundation, like footwork and freezes and being innovative in that way and routines. So it was kind of like we pushed each other to be better than another. So Pablo creating the air flare, that feeling and seeing that live was like, I was a fan of my friend, you know? And I was like, oh, this is so dope. Like my friend he's an innovator. He did this. Like, yeah, I know Pablo, man. I grew up with him. And to me, it was like very, very awe-inspiring knowing that one of my friends created a move that was very seldomly seen. But now it's like people do multiple air flares. Even when I see it, when I judge it, and people do multiple air flares, I kind of think back and it breaks my heart because I'm like, only if they knew where it came from.
Wow.
Yeah, but yeah, it's still awe-inspiring because a lot of people that don't know where it came from or who innovated it or where they seen it and who created it, I can actually open up the treasure chest in their ear to be like, oh, here's some gold for you. One of my best friends created that. They're like, what? So created that move, and I can actually. There's probably some footage online, YouTube that Charles probably posted that. Yeah.
That's dope. But now, in today's era, you are in Soul Shifters. That is your crew now. Now, this is a crew. Who's all in this crew?
Oh man, I ain't got that one. I don't even know.
Is it like a Soul Shifters worldwide type thing?
So Soul Shifters was a creative. It was from a creative thought process that Free from Circle of Fire thought of, and the thought was having a how can I put it? How did he put it? He wanted to have a band of dancers, people that did strictly like dance on top rocking and stuff like that. That was and it was funny because it was called Shapeshifters. The first name was Shapeshifters. But Free found out, even Orb being a rapper, Orb said, no, man, that's a rap group. Don't call it Shapeshifters. So he goes, all right, Soul Shifters. So he called Soul Shifters, but it's a collaboration of artists now with like-minded thoughts of family. So we have a lot of people that were in Soul Shifter, or a lot of people that were in Circle of Fire that just kind of branched out of Circle of Fire of a legendary crew that became Soul Shifters, it being a band of artists with like-minded ideas. So we have a lot of people.
No doubt. And for Arizona, I know there's you and Weehum, right?
Well, actually, it's me, Weehum, Maria, and Rose now.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So you guys are even expanding in AZ, huh?
Well, Maria and Rose showed a lot of their dedication to to the art of house dancing and being friends and becoming like that connection to being like, let's say, someone like if someone does a certain move, you go, hey, I want to get this guy in. He's really good, but they don't know their character. So Rose and Maria, they would actually pay for their own flights to go and hang out with the crew and be around the crew and have a friendship and have a family kinship with a lot of the members that were in Soul Shifters. So that became really dope. It became really, as I say, awe-inspiring because you got people that actually want to become friends with you instead of people you see only at practice becoming a crew. So it's more of a family thing with them because I know they studied under Weehum.
Oh, dope, man. That's a guy. I got to get Weehum on here, man. He's got a lot of. I would love to talk the abstract era because his name has come up in at least 2 interviews so far.
Weehum is the product of how I was in Fresno when it came to longevity.
Mm-hmm.
Weehum is that for Arizona. He's seen multiple eras of breaking in Arizona.
Right. Dope, man. Now, so last thing I want to ask you is, so you've been around a lot of what I would like to call limit pushing, right? You've been in Soul Control. You had not just yourself, but you also had Cujo. You had Pablo, people who are really pushing the limits, the physical limits of what it is that we call breaking. What advice or guidance would you give to the current generation as far as pushing the limits of the dance, being themselves in the dance, and getting the most that they can out of their bodies within this dance?
That's a good question. So at a point of opening your mental block, as far as a move before a move after a move, or even thinking outside of the box, I guess my advice is to create your own signature move, create something that's totally yours to where you can say you came up with it, or you added on to something and you flipped it. Because a lot of people, there's moves, I don't know, a lot of people, there's moves that are going around and recycled and people are doing it and it's somebody else's. But to be originally you, that's a task in itself. When I started my journey on freezes and doing freezes that were something that I created, and I stood out and made a name for myself, that is something that I always want to see at a jam. If I see somebody at a jam and I go, yo, that dude is dope because of his originality, because of what he can do, because of the limits that he pushed within itself and not being in like anybody else but himself. So that's always something really dope. Because I remember at a time we had a couple of people from, and I gotta drop a name, but Scabby for the Love Crew, Arizona. There's a lot of moves that he does that are actually something that he created, and then it'll open your mind. You go, oh, yeah, that was dope. Like, how the hell did you come up with that? And it was really dope, and to me, it brought a spark of inspiration to me to where I could be like, oh, if I ever got to battle this guy, I'm gonna have a hard time. But it's mostly of being 100%, 110% you in your creative thought process, and expanding and pushing yourself to that limit to where you impress yourself. No, don't impress anybody else, but you impress yourself because you created a self goal to create a move that no one else does, and you did it. So you're pushing your mental limit to surprising yourself, impressing yourself.
All right. Yeah, man. Scabby is definitely an underground king for Arizona, man. I think so. He's like one of those dudes that I don't know how far he's taken his name outside of Arizona, but he's one of those dudes. If you ever come to Arizona, he's definitely going to be one of those eye-opening people. You're like, oh, snap. You know what I'm saying? When you see him.
You're going to have a hard time. If you compete against him, you're going to have a hard time, because if I'm judging and he's there with his originality and his creative movements, to me, I always look at that, because I'm like, you know, someone could top rock with a whole lot of energy. Someone could do footwork with a whole lot of energy, and I get the energy. But a lot of times what I'm looking for is someone that stands out. Someone that was like once me or once Pablo that stood out, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, there it is, man. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your stories and connecting some of those dots in the West Coast history and lineage that you are a part of.
Yeah.
As soon as this COVID is over, man, hopefully I'll see you again at one of the jams. You know what I'm saying? Go have a good time.
You will see me, and we will practice together. We'll pick each other's minds. I will learn off of you. You will learn off of me, and we'll definitely learn from each other.
No doubt, man. Again, thank you. Beyond the Cypher, Bboy Erik, Soul Shifters Worldwide.
Yes,
and
indeed.
AZ. Thanks again for your time, brother. We'll see you on the other side.
Most respects, man. Peace and love, brother.
Peace.
Peace.
Zero gravity.